In an Amish home with 15 children, there are no separate bedrooms for each child, no personal space, no privacy, just two rooms divided by gender and filled wall to wall with handmade bunk beds. Here is exactly what that looks like from bedtime to sunrise. The Amish bedroom reality. An Amish house is built for function, not comfort. The typical home has 2 or 3 bedrooms. Parents occupy one, the children share the rest divided strictly by gender. In a family with 15 children, that means 7 or 8 boys in one room and 7 or 8 girls in another. The rooms are plain, with wooden floors, whitewashed walls, and no decoration, no closets, no carpet, no heating vent. In winter, the room is cold. In summer, it is warm. The house was built to shelter a large family, not to provide individual comfort. Gender separation rules. The separation of boys and girls into different sleeping rooms begins the moment children are old enough to leave the parents' room. In most families, this happens between ages 2 and 4. Once a child sleeps through the night reliably, they move to the appropriate gender room. This rule is absolute, regardless of how crowded the rooms become. Boys and girls do not share sleeping space under any circumstances. The gender separation reflects the broader Amish value of maintaining clear boundaries between male and female at every stage of life. It is not explained in terms of danger. It is simply the rule. Boys sleep with boys, girls sleep with girls. Handmade bunk beds. The primary sleeping furniture is bunk beds, built by the father or a community craftsman, not purchased from a store. Constructed from local hardwood using mortise and tenon joinery that does not require metal fasteners, a well-built Amish bunk bed is heavy, solid, and virtually indestructible. It does not wobble or creak. In rooms with many children, triple bunks are built, stacking 3 sleeping surfaces vertically. Children who sleep at the top climb using wooden rungs built into the frame. They do not fall because they learn quickly how to climb and how not to. Floor mattresses and quilts. When bunk beds are full, the youngest children sleep on floor mattresses. This is not a temporary solution. It is a permanent arrangement until a bunk space opens as an older sibling marries. Floor mattresses are simple straw ticking or cotton batting mattresses sewn by the mother, placed directly on the wooden floor. Each child has their own quilt made by the mother or grandmother. The floor mattresses are rolled up every morning to create space and unrolled every evening. By age 6, a child can roll their own mattress and store it properly without being asked. Personal belongings. Each child in an Amish household owns very little. Their personal belongings fit in a small wooden box or a single drawer in a shared dresser. Clothing is kept on a row of wooden pegs mounted on the wall above the sleeping area. Each child has a designated peg. Their everyday dress hangs on it. Their Sunday dress hangs beside it. That is the extent of their wardrobe display. Toys are communal rather than personal in most Amish households. A wooden toy made by the father belongs to all the children, not to any one child specifically. Books are shared. Games are shared. The concept of individual ownership that English children learn from a young age is not part of Amish childhood in the same way. A child does not say, "This is my toy," and "that is your toy" in the same territorial sense. They say, "This is our toy." The distinction shapes how they relate to possessions for the rest of their lives. Adults who grew up in Amish households tend to hold possessions loosely. They do not accumulate. They do not hoard. They share with neighbors and community members with an ease that people raised in English households often find remarkable. Bedtime routine. Bedtime in an Amish household with 15 children is not a casual affair. It happens at a specific time every evening, and it follows the same sequence every night. The younger children go first. By 7 or 8 in the evening, the smallest children are washed, dressed in plain nightgowns, and placed in their sleeping spots. The mother moves through the room saying a brief prayer over each child before they sleep. In some families, the father leads a family prayer in the main room before the children go upstairs. The older children go to bed later, between 8 and 9, after completing their evening chores. By 9 o'clock, the house is quiet. The Amish day begins before 5 in the morning. 8 hours of sleep is not a luxury. It is a practical necessity for a household where everyone works from sunrise. The bedtime routine is enforced consistently because deviation affects the morning routine, and the morning routine affects the farm work, and the farm work affects the family's survival. Every part of the day connects to every other part. Bedtime is not negotiable. Morning schedule. The morning in a room shared by 7 or 8 children is coordinated by necessity. There is one small window, one door, one shared dresser with 2 or 3 drawers. Everyone needs to dress at the same time. Everyone needs to use the single bathroom before going downstairs for breakfast. The oldest child in the room takes responsibility for waking the younger ones. She or he does this not because anyone assigned the task formally, but because Amish children learn early that the household functions through individual responsibility. If the younger children are not awake and dressed on time, the morning meal is delayed and the farm work is delayed, and the father notices. The children motivate each other through the morning routine because the consequences of failing to do so are shared. The older children help the younger ones dress. They tie shoes. They button small buttons. They straighten head coverings on younger sisters. By the time the room empties and the children file downstairs for breakfast, it is operated as a small self-managing unit. No adult was in the room. No adult needed to be. When children fight, 15 children sharing limited space inevitably produces conflict. Someone takes another child's designated peg space. Someone kicks during the night and disturbs a sibling sharing a mattress. Someone uses another child's clothing without asking. Someone refuses to roll their floor mattress in the morning. These conflicts happen daily in an Amish household with many children. The resolution process is direct and swift. Older children are expected to manage minor conflicts among themselves without involving parents. A 10-year-old who complains to the mother about a 6-year-old taking their peg space may be told to handle it themselves. Self-resolution is expected and taught. If a conflict escalates to the point where parents must intervene, the resolution involves acknowledgement of the wrong, an apology, and immediate correction of the behavior. There is no prolonged discussion of feelings. There is no negotiated settlement between equals. There is a clear expectation of behavior, a violation of that expectation, and a correction. The child who was wrong apologizes. The child who was wronged accepts the apology. Life continues. This process, repeated thousands of times across childhood, produces adults who resolve conflict directly, forgive quickly, and do not carry grievances indefinitely. The shared bedroom is one of the primary classrooms for this skill. What privacy means in a shared room. Privacy in a room shared by 7 or 8 same-sex siblings means something different from what the word means to an English child with their own bedroom. It does not mean physical solitude. Physical solitude is almost never available to an Amish child. Privacy means the unspoken agreement among siblings that certain things are not discussed outside the room. What a child says in the room at night stays in the room. If a younger child cries at night, the older siblings do not report it at the breakfast table. If an older child has a bad dream and speaks in their sleep, the younger siblings do not repeat what was said. If a teenager is anxious about something and murmurs quietly to a sibling in the dark, that conversation belongs to the room. This understanding is never formally stated. It develops organically through years of shared sleeping space. The room becomes a space of collective confidentiality. The children inside it form a small unit bound by proximity and by the implicit code that what happens in the shared space is managed inside the shared space. This is preparation for community life. The Amish community operates on the same principle. What happens inside the community is managed inside the community. What makes this form of privacy remarkable is that it is more reliable than the privacy an English child has in a room of their own. A child alone in their bedroom has physical solitude, but no guarantee that what they confide to a parent or friend will stay contained. An Amish child in a room of 7 siblings has no physical solitude at all, but has the absolute assurance that the people around them have been trained since birth in the discipline of discretion. The shared room teaches every child inside it that loyalty to the group is more important than the satisfaction of gossip. That lesson does not end when the children grow up and leave the house. It travels with them into marriage, into community life, and into every relationship they will ever have. The privacy of the shared room is not about walls. It is about trust. And trust built in a childhood bedroom lasts far longer than any wall ever could. What sharing a room builds. Growing up, sharing a bedroom with 7 or 8 siblings builds characteristics that Amish communities depend on and that the outside world increasingly struggles to find. Patience. A child who shares a sleeping space with 7 other people from birth to marriage has no choice but to develop patience. They cannot control when others wake. They cannot control the sounds others make. They cannot control how much space others occupy. They adapt, or they make everyone miserable. Most adapt. Flexibility. A room that changes constantly as babies are added and older siblings leave for marriage requires constant adjustment. The child who is on the bottom bunk moves to the floor when a new sibling needs the lower sleeping position. The child on the floor moves to the top bunk when an older sibling marries. Nothing is permanent. Nothing is guaranteed. The ability to adjust without resentment is built through years of exactly this kind of constant small change. Consideration for others. A child who knows their restlessness at night disturbs 6 other people learns to be still. A child who knows their slow morning routine delays 7 other people learns to move efficiently. The awareness that individual behavior affects a group is not taught in a classroom. It is lived in a shared room every morning and every night for 20 years. These are not soft skills. They are the foundation of Amish community life, and they are built one shared bedroom at a time. What the outside world does not fully appreciate is that these characteristics cannot be taught in isolation. They must be practiced under pressure. Real pressure. The pressure of a cold room in February where 7 children are trying to get dressed in the dark before 5 in the morning with one shared dresser and 2 drawers. The pressure of lying still when a younger sibling is restless and the morning alarm is 2 hours away. The pressure of giving up the bottom bunk without complaint because a younger sibling needs it more. These are not abstract moral lessons. They are physical daily realities that repeat without variation for 20 years. By the time an Amish child leaves that shared room and starts a household of their own, they carry inside them a level of practical consideration for others that most people spend their entire adult lives trying to develop through therapy, coaching, and deliberate practice. The Amish child got it for free in a cold room with 7 siblings every single night. What happens when 15 Amish children share one bedroom is not chaos. It is a system built on gender separation, handmade furniture, shared quilts, personal peg hooks, consistent bedtime routines, and the daily practice of managing a small community of people in a confined space. The children who grow up in these rooms do not emerge damaged by the lack of personal space. They emerge with a set of capabilities that the modern world talks about constantly and produces rarely. They know how to share without resentment. They know how to resolve conflict without escalation. They know how to move through a morning routine efficiently without requiring adult management. They know that their behavior affects the people around them, and they adjust accordingly. They know that possessions are less important than relationships. They know how to sleep in a cold room under a heavy quilt and be up before 5 in the morning ready to work. None of these capabilities are the result of parenting classes or developmental programs. They are the result of spending 20 years in a room with 7 other people who are all trying to get dressed at the same time with one dresser and 2 drawers. The Amish do not build children's bedrooms the way English families do, because they are not trying to produce the same outcome. They are not trying to produce individuals who know how to be alone. They are trying to produce members of a community who know how to live together. The shared bedroom is where that education begins. And for 15 children pressed into 2 plain rooms with whitewashed walls and handmade bunk beds, it is an education that never stops.